Designing well-made horror is quite the challenge. After all, the disparities between a good scary movie and a good scary game are fairly apparent, since giving the audience their own agency in situations can lower the stakes, especially with the win condition. So while some games might take this design issue and work around through loud sounds and abrupt gory visuals, I think the games in the genre that really deserve some praise are the ones who use their mechanics and gameplay interactions to elicit those same familiar feelings of dread, without ever dripping into the feeling of cheap or easy. So no matter when you're watching this or how spooky you feel, these are the horror game designs that will keep you on edge. Hey all you thrillers and killers, I'm Skip the Tutorial, and this is Game Bites, an appreciation anthology of the best bits of design that gaming has to offer. Respawn systems have kept a fairly consistent design across gaming. You die, fade to black, and then come back with another go just a couple minutes before. Hopefully this time ready to push past from what you learned. And for the most part, they haven't really been a part of the game to think much about, since, impactfully, your death wouldn't play much of a role in the gameplay or story. After all, protagonists aren't exactly known for their premature deaths to some random low-level enemy encounter. But Ubisoft's Zombie U took what I believe to be a fascinating switch-up on this concept in an experimental new light that tightly fits the themes of the game's design. You see, in this Wii U launch title, meeting your death to one of the game's many zombies doesn't just mean a clean retry, but rather a respawn with an alternative character in which you physically kill your infected past self to score your loot back. Not only does this fit thematically in a game about the spread of zombies, but it also gives a fantastic weight to dying that is lost in a chunk of modern titles. You feel attached to your inventory when it can be literally lost with the right amount of slip-ups. You have a clear incentive to retrace your steps and improve upon your earlier mistakes in the same situation. Overall, this mechanic gives a breath of fresh air into a system we largely take for granted, and also feeds off the gory atmosphere that looms over the game's entirety. Now, saying Until Dawn plays like your average horror movie isn't a new insight. You have the wholesome blonde, a cabin of mysterious events, and the all-important catalyst of mixes and matches of promiscuous teens. And because of this, the game makes sure to use plenty of QTEs, or QuickTime events, during their action sequences. And to be quite honest, it's hard to create as much a connection with characters when the controls are mostly just about knee-jerk button mashing. And that's where the brilliance of the don't move mechanic comes in. This provides a genuine connection with the character on screen as you both force your nerves to calm. And this gets especially tough in the later sequences where you need to force your breathing to steady while handling the sections. Now admittedly, it does lose some of its novelty with the out-of-touch sensitivity of the DualShock controller, but the underlying concept here proves that there's plenty of tension in asking the players to do nothing that's just lost in your 17th QuickTime event. When designing her story, Sam Barlow went out of his way to create a much different kind of unnerving experience. Whereas most horror games will give little information and then let the player grow more comfortable as more is revealed, the database-type design of navigating the 271 spliced-up interview clips provides all of the knowledge up front, and the unease sets in from the veritable oversaturation of facts to sift through, switching the detective-style focus from the typical format of asking the questions. This game instead focuses much more on the player's ability to listen to the answers, as you explore the keywords and tags of the transcripts across the numerous videos. But how does this keep the player from an accidental stumble across the final answer? Barlow cleverly hides up the juicier bits of the case by limiting the access to more bountiful searches to the 5 chronological leaders. Since the flow over the course of Hannah's interviews progresses into the eventual disturbing reveal of the murder, the most revealing parts all fall in the finalizing clips, allowing the database's limitation to cover up the key leads with seemingly meaningless tidbits from the earlier testimonies. Through implementing this one key mechanical cover-up, the game is able to keep the sense of freedom necessary for players to truly experiment with their eavesdrops, but still maintain the gratifying flow of the story that Barlow expertly interweaves in the clips. Hideo Kojima has a certain way of breaking new ground through different perspectives on horror, and although now that might manifest in a baby spotting you a thumbs up in an ear canal, I think one of his most compelling design directions exists in the playable teaser for the unreleased Silent Hills, otherwise known as PT. In the game, the player walks through a short loop of a suburban house's corridors in continuous cycles. And as you reach new circles of play by solving cryptic puzzles, you'll constantly be manipulating the details around you. The game is built upon a familiarization of your route and its changes as you walk through and through. And a deep look at the minutiae is further emphasized by the simplified controls, just allowing you to walk and zoom in on the features of the hallways. And I think this does a great job at taking the player's comfort and familiarization that's often a problem in these horror games, and ever flipping the script into new realms of discomforting unease. If you ask me, the horror that sticks with you isn't Jumpscares, but rather psychological. A game that's able to craft an atmosphere of scares is super impressive, and it can lead to a range of emotions. And Eternal Darkness turns that exact emotional spectrum into a game mechanic with a fantastic sanity system. So as you witness the various monsters and frights as you walk around the game's area, your sanity meter will start to deplete, which from there leads to the infamous sanity effects that the game's so well known for. Now some are cosmetic, such as mock switching TV modes, or even faking the game save being deleted. And some might appear harmful, such as your head falling off and then all of a sudden busting out some Shakespeare's Hamlet. And I think the impact of these effects is that they elicit constant hopelessness, since even the mundane aspects of the game can and will turn against you, as your progression through the game evokes a sense of madness on both you and the character you're playing as. Off the bat, including this game here is a disservice to Team Salvato's greatest design accomplishment, its Trojan horse aesthetic of a dating sim that eventually goes wrong. Partnered with the vast internet popularity of the title, the unknown charm of this game can't be regained by joining the online conversation. The toothpaste just can't be put back in the tube. Despite this, an analytical push past this further reveals the subtle genius in the game's progression of horror, such as through its poem system, as the player's main interaction through the game is by writing 20-word poems through selecting the words best applicable to one of the game's girls. The poetry sharing sessions allowed the darker side of the game to finally shine through, first turning for the worse in Sayori's shares. The player gains insights into the evil manipulations of her transition from the happy-go-lucky character we see at the beginning, and later into her unfortunate sadness with its tragic payoff. The beauty of these poems is in how they play toward the false sense of security nature that this game emphasizes in its opening segments, and after the tonal shift, provide the best status update on the worsening state of the game's inner workings. Literally. Horror games can serve up some really magnificent story beats to players, but sometimes, not all of us need that high-stress rush that comes from narrowly escaping the dangers of a life-threatening robot. To answer this, developer Frictional added in the fittingly titled Safe Mode to their horrific ocean-themed sci-fi adventure. Stemming from the popularity of Steam user The Dreamer's Wuss mod, this mode allows for players to still experience the same puzzles, events, and atmosphere without the threat of being discovered. By making the monster's overall behavior change, and not just their ability to harm the player, this mode keeps the themes of terror present by changing the context on how these machines play into the greater concepts. On top of this, their implementation of this mode was something particularly well handled. By making the mode an opt-in feature, the game assures that players who choose to use it know that they are going against the game's intention to play, but also doesn't reduce them to wimps if they choose to do such. Furthermore, Frictional's choice to hold off the mode for 2 years after the game's release emphasized that the general understanding of the game's intended design fell toward the monster's hostility. By opening up the opportunity for players to choose their horror, they effectively made a gameplay option and pushed past just an easy mode version of the original way, which I think is something pretty special for a game like this. Hey there, shine your light on this one in the top right for the 7 platform mechanics you need to play, or startle this one in the bottom right for another video. And with that, thank you so much for watching, take care, and you have a good one, alright?